So thank you both for joining, and our focus will be on streamlining and optimizing Salesforce org today. And we'll dive into one crucial topic, which is managing and reducing the technical debt from your Salesforce org to ensure that the org operates at its peak performance. And here's some forward-looking statements. And let's go to the next slide. And let me introduce myself. I'm Mehdi Hassan. I'm currently working as a software engineer at Aprosoft and proudly serve as one of the leaders of the Trailblazer developer community Dhaka, Bangladesh. And in addition to my professional role, I'm passionate about sharing Salesforce knowledge through YouTube videos and blog posts. You can also find my content on YouTube if you search by the keyword HS Code Hub. My channel link is youtube.com at hscodehub. Also, there's a blog, hscodehub.com. And you can also connect with me over the LinkedIn. So here's the agenda for today. First of all, the main topic we'll be focusing today is the technical depth, as I said earlier. That will be our prime focus. And about technical depth, we'll be discussing what is technical depth, what causes technical depth in Salesforce, also how to minimize the technical depth, Salesforce optimization tools. There are several optimization tools Salesforce provide us out of box, so we'll be also seeing those. So let's see what is technical depth. So technical depth refers to the cost of additional work that arises when shortcuts are taken in software development to meet deadlines, deliver faster, or avoid upfront investment in better solutions. So these shortcuts can provide immediate value, and they often lead to suboptimal or incomplete solution in the long run, which can slow down the development, reduce system performance, or increase maintenance cost. So if you see the picture, the first person who has a optimized solution, it looks like you can think like that. He has an optimal solution, and the second person, he doesn't have an optimal solution, but he's trying to continuously move forward with the unoptimized solution. So he have to put on more effort, more time, more energy, but he's reluctant to fix the issue, optimize the thing first. So that's the issue. And so that is why we'll have to focus on the technical depth. If there's a technical depth in somewhere, maybe somehow it is impacting us, it is making us lagging behind. So that is important to identify and fix it. Okay, so here are some key points what actually causes the technical depth. So first of all, the changed or outdated design. So there can be a scenario like a developer is developing some codes and they kept some Apex methods just in case. So just in case they may use the Apex later on. So these elements can provide a safety net, but they increase the complexity and slow down the innovation. How so? For example, we kept the Apex method. We are no longer using it, but we kept it, and it is also getting fired. Somehow, we are putting some conditions so that it doesn't go inside the logic, but it is eventually getting fired, right? So that can eat up your Apex heap size, uh, can eat up some governor limits, things like that. So if something isn't used, something is outdated, we should get rid of that. And also the second one is new releases. So in Salesforce, Salesforce provides 3 releases every year. They upgrades their feature implementations. They bring new features. Also, they do duplicate the older feature. Some of the older implementations, for example, flow, process builder, things like that. So we have to be cautious about those. What is getting deprecated, what is getting newly introduced, when should we target to convert the flows, I mean the workflows, process builder to flows, things like that. And the third one, deliver technical depth. So sometimes teams knowingly choose faster, less comprehensive solutions to meet immediate deadlines or business goals. While this approach accelerates the development, it leads to a higher cost for the future maintenance and upgrades. So eventually, that will backfire in the future. And one more is accidental technical debt. Time pressures, misaligned parallel work streams, or unforeseen complexities can result in suboptimal solution. The shortcuts, though unintentional, but accumulates as technical debt that impacts the system's quality over the time. So that's a big issue. But even though it's not like intentional, but it's accidental, it actually will backfire in the future. So the last one is bolt-on technical debt. To keep system running or accommodating quick fixes, developers can often build incremental extensions rather than re-engineering the core implementation. Like they are giving patches, they are giving quick fixes just to move forward. Just like the wheel you saw at the like third slide. Just to move forward, they are just giving quick fixes. Some are moving forward, but not in the proper way. Okay, so that is bolt-on technical debt. Okay, so let's move on to the next slide and technical depth in Salesforce. So let's have some fun way to see the technical depths in Salesforce. Okay, first of all, this is my favorite example, which is code coverage hack. So you can see that guy getting added because he added 100 lines of code coverage I plus plus hack. So if you are not aware of this, then I think you're doing the development in a good way. But if you are aware or you used it some point of the time, okay, so that is not recommended at all. So let me explain the I plus plus hack. So what happens? We are developing a component Apex class, and maybe we are too lazy, maybe we are running out of time. So instead of writing a proper test class, what we can do, we can just write a method, extra method. You can name it like this: headers gonna head, I gonna increment. Just add I plus plus all the way top to bottom and call this method from the test class. That will like increase your code coverage. So this is really a bad practice. This is not recommended at all because Salesforce says the test classes should be like intended to like test the functionality of the method, right? Not just because of the coverage. So this one just heavily focusing on the coverage also. um, on the way, what is doing, it is like reducing the Apex storage in your Salesforce org. If we go to the next slide, as you can see, if you go to the setup, you go to setup, from there you search for system overview. Over there you can see that code used is 100% or something like that. Okay, so the I plus plus we added, that will be added against the code uses in Salesforce. So this is not what we want, right? So at some point of the time, you may face you don't have any code used left, no Apex storage left for you to develop new features. So we will have to think about it. We shouldn't use I plus plus. We shouldn't use test method. There's one more thing I would like to mention. If you use test method in your test class, that will be also counted against the Apex storage. But if you use the is test, that won't be counted. Okay. Okay. So this is straightforward, but many of the developers, admins often make this mistake. For example, you just here you can see for brand. What we could do, instead of for checkbox, we could introduce for pick list field. Sorry, one pick list field with four values, right? Both would like serve the same purpose, but the pick list one would be the appropriate one, and that will be like lot more easier to maintain. So this checkboxes actually doesn't make sense. So we have to create components before we we have to think, right? We have to think before we create the components in Salesforce, or see whether we can utilize the previous components to implement the new feature, things like that, instead of just creating components without any thinking. So one more thing in the technical depth is hard-coded values. Salesforce also recommends not to use the hard-coded values because it may create issues. The maintenance can be harder day by day if you keep hardcoding the values in your implementation. For example, you can use custom metadata, custom setting, custom labels, things like that to increase the scalability of your solution. But there can be some scenario where it's not possible to use the custom metadata, custom setting. You have to hard code. On that on that case, you will do what you will need to do. But if it's possible to avoid the hard coding, you should do that. Let's go to the fourth one: poor code quality. So this is also a funny example. Uh, after a few months, after 1 year, for example, you implemented something before 1 year before, 2 years back, right? And now you are reviewing your same code, your own code. You may see, oh, what did I do? Why did I implement like this? I could do this optimization or things like that, right? So we should always, like, during the implementation, during the code design, we should follow the best practices. Like, for example, no SQL in for loop, using test method instead. Is test, we should use the is test, not using nested for loop. Okay, but there can be scenario we have to use nested for loop, but there are some scenarios where we can use the sets in Apex instead of nested for loop. So we have to think about that. We have to think about all the surrounding solutions can be possible, can be applied before implementing our code, so that in the future, when we come back, we don't regret our implementation. All right. Okay, so let's go to the next one: excessive customization. And as you all know, like, Salesforce doesn't recommend the excessive customization. uh, for example, they have implemented lots of standard objects for you, right? You don't necessarily need to create a new object named account or opportunity. These are already there. Also, I saw in some place, like, they implemented the whole approval process. That was a custom implementation, whole approval process. So that is not recommended. If you can utilize the standard feature, you should go for the standard feature. And if needed, then you can extend the standard feature. On extreme cases, maybe you may have to do the whole implementation with customized uh, implementation, but that's like exception. Usually, we should try to utilize whatever Salesforce is offering us out of the box. Okay, this one, like, developing your codes without considering the long-term plan. There can be example like, I am giving access to opportunity to all the users. All the users has uh, opportunity access, read-write access. So in the long run, what may happen? Some account executive may steal each other's opportunity. They may steal each other data, or maybe in future there are some more users may come in. They shouldn't see opportunities at all. So that will backfire, right? That will create a huge like legal issue, or like internal issue over the company. So before implementing things like that, we'll have to carefully consider for whom we are, like, developing the solution, who will be using, how we should restrict the record access, data access, things like that. Overall thinking is mandatory. So here are some more examples of the technical depths. You can see they're pretty much self-explanatory. I'll just quickly go over them. Inactive evaluation rules, flows, processes, and workflow rules. Process, I mean the process builders. If they're inactive, they're not no longer use. You can just get rid of them. Also, profiles, permission sets, roles, groups, page layouts, record types, active users who haven't logged in Salesforce. Maybe, like, he is no longer working with your company, but his user account is still active, right? That will eat up a license in Salesforce. We don't want that, right? We want to free up the license if that is not needed for a particular user. Also, reports, dashboards, unused Apex triggers, very important. We should get rid of the unused Apex triggers. If they are not needed, we don't want them to fired um, unnecessarily, right? We don't want that, because they will eat up governor limit, they will eat up heap size, asynchronous limit, things like that. And solutions that aren't scalable, leverageable, or easy to maintain. So we should try to implement solution which can be reusable and scalable. For example, like I implemented a solution, and in future it will be extended. But after extending, I'm facing an issue with the too many socket. So that's a huge challenge because in my previous implementation, I didn't optimize it well. Maybe I used Sockwell in the for loop, or maybe I put 3 or 5 extra for loops, or maybe I used like 3, 4, 5 more Sockwells which were needed. So that is backfiring. I'm getting backfire because of that later on. Okay, and another one is solution built using older, outdated features and versions. So we have to be careful. Salesforce sometimes also deprecates the feature, some Apex feature or some API version, things like that. So we have to be careful on those. And one more thing is now LWC, Salesforce recommends to use the LWC, right? So we shouldn't go back to Visual Force page. We shouldn't go back to using to Aura component. Most of the implementations can be done using the LWC. If we can do it using the LWC, we should go with the LWC. Same case for the automation. If it's possible to use implement something using the flow, we should use the flow, right? But as far as I know, for now, everything can be implemented using flow. If you compare with the process builder and workflow, everything can be implemented using flow. But more or less things. But yeah, automation wise, flow is the future now. We shouldn't touch anything except flow for the automations. No workflows, no process builders. Okay, doc. So, and how to minimize technical debt in Salesforce? And here are some quick points. They're also pretty self-explanatory. First of all, excuse me. Okay. First of all, minimize minimum viable documentation. So it is recommended to do some documentation what you are implementing. Sometimes it's really tough to see the code and understand the code, or someone has to spend hours, right, to understand some existing implementation because he'll be developing some new extended version of the features on the existing implementation. So if there are concise document for key objects, automation, integrations, focusing on the purpose, relationships, critical configurations, things like that, that will help the developers. And one more thing is data design, like implementing. Oh, the second one is prioritizing the cleanup. So we should prioritize the cleanup because, as I said earlier, there can be unused Apex classes, unused flow builders. They're like getting fired unnecessarily. They don't need to be fired. So they are eating up storage, right? That's why we'll have to prioritize the cleanup as well. And data design, like we have to implement a normalized data model with proper relationships. Um, in the places we need lookup, we should implement lookup relationship. In the places of master detail, we should do that. Also using the proper hierarchy, roles and hierarchy. And we should if the implementation is really complex, we should take suggestion from the Salesforce architect, how we suggest us to do the implementation so that in future it will be scalable. It won't break just it won't break if we just implement a new feature. It won't break with too many software governor limit error, things like that. And fourth one is implement a strong code review process. So that is actually really very important. Like we created a MR merge request using Git, GitLab, GitHub. Okay, so the code review process should be strict. If we can make sure of that, that can reduce some of the bugs, or so some of the technical depths can be reduced. because the developer can, like, sometimes they may hurry and miss something, or they may intentionally like do some shortcuts to do the implementation, which will introduce technical debt. But in the code review process, if the code review process is strong, the reviewer can catch the issue and give feedback to the junior developer and fix the technical debt beforehand. And lastly, the impose best practices, like define coding and configuration standard, also naming conventions and modular design, apex pattern, singular, singleton pattern, things like that. Also train the team to follow these practices and enforce the practices during the reviews and the deployments. That is actually really important, because if we strictly adhere to the best practices, that will also help us in the long run. The technical depth will be like reduced significantly, and by following the best practices we can also know, like, how we should implement, how Salesforce suggests us to implement things. Our skill will be more sharpened. Okay, so that is all for this slide. Let's go to the next one. We are almost at the end, just few more slides are remaining, and I would like to show you some Salesforce out of the box optimization tools. We have 3 optimization tools. First of all, the health check. Okay, so what health check does? Health check gives you visibility into all of your org's security settings and allow you to identify and fix vulnerabilities in your security settings. So if you go to setup and search for health check, and you'll be able to see Salesforce baseline standard. It will give you a rating, 76, 0%, 40, whatever the rating is. And at the bottom, if you you'll be able to see what are the issues. And from those issues, you can fix the issues accordingly. Or if you're confused whether you should do that or not, maybe you can contact with your developer, lead developer. Okay, our org is facing this security vulnerability. We should address it ASAP. So this is really a like pretty handy out of the box feature from Salesforce. And let's see another one, Apex Guru Insights. So this is a really powerful uh, Salesforce feature, and this is Gen AI based feature, okay, for Salesforce. And this is designed to fix anti patterns and hotspots in Salesforce implementation. What I mean, like, as you can see in here, it's saying code recommendations, SOQL, DML analysis, also expensive methods, also unused classes and methods. So as I was saying earlier, like we should remove unused classes, optimize classes. So this tool may help you like in big time in identifying the unused Apex classes, unused Apex methods, or very badly written Apex methods, things like that. You can just go to setup, search for Apex Group, and run it in your org. Then it will generate a report for you. Uh, just like this report, it will generate a report like you for you, and you can overview the report and decide, okay, what needs to be done, which one should we target next, how we can optimize our code. So this is actually a really helpful and great feature from Salesforce. You can check this out. And lastly, this is Salesforce Optimizer. This is like kind of similar to the Apex Guru, right? Apex Guru is saying this is not in use. This needs to be uh, like optimized, things like that. But this one, the Salesforce Optimizer, is almost same, but not for Apex. It's for rest of the components. For example, the layouts for the record pages, for the dashboard reports, things like that. So using Salesforce Optimizer, you can see what are the things are not in usage, um, what record pages are not in usage, what profiles, what page layouts, unused reports. You can identify those stuffs. By identifying, you can get rid of them later on, right? So this is how Salesforce Optimizer can help us. So this was it about the 3 tools Salesforce provides us out of the box. So this brings us to the almost end of the event. And in summary, what I'm trying to say, like, no system is actually completely free of technical depth. That is actually not possible in real life scenario. Technical depths will be always there, almost 99% of the time. But the challenge is, the thing is, we should try to reduce the technical depth as much as we can, so that we can move forward with the optimal Salesforce environment. You are loading an opportunity record page, or you are clicking a button which fires apex or flow. So that if you optimize the technical depth, so that those flows, those apex, those buttons works faster, quicker for the user. So that will be, at the end of the day, that will be a good user experience, right? So we may not eliminate all the technical depths in our org, but we should try to start at somewhere where, like, for example, you can start with the unused apex method or unused flow builders, but you have to start somewhere, right? Even though it's not possible to eliminate, may not be possible to eliminate all the technical depths, but we should try, at least try, and see how, where we land. And here are some resources I took help from: Core Flex Solution, Salesforce Ben, Salesforce Admin Blog, Apex Hour, Medium. And yeah, this was it about the event. And let's succeed together. So I'll give a pause of 1 to 2 minutes. If you guys have any questions, feel free to unmute yourself and ask your question. Okay, I hope, I think no questions. Okay, I can see chat notification. Okay, it was good one. Okay, Yogesh, thank you so much for the compliment. I hope you enjoyed the event. And this brings us to the end of the event. And I'll be publishing the recording of the event in YouTube. And yeah, so thank you guys for joining. Thank you guys for your patience. I hope you learned something new, at least one thing. So if yes, that will be my success. And yeah, thank you, Shuman. Thank you for the compliment. And yeah, we can wrap up the meeting. See you on the next one, and have a nice weekend. Bye bye.
Thanks all.
Thank you.